Hi there, my name's Justine, and I have a blog called The Homarchy. And one of the reasons I wanted to have a website is to discuss issues in same sex relationships between women, because there's a lot of things about them that are unique compared to heterosexual ones. And there's not a lot of people that spend a lot of time talking about, I think, sort of the nuances that happen in lesbian relationships. Uh, One of the reasons why I'm interested in this topic is actually lesbian relationships have a very high breakup rate. And I think now that same sex marriage has been passed, uh, is a good time to sort of talk about what our relationships are like, what keeps them together, what makes us break up, in light of these new rights that we have. It's really just for self-awareness. Marriage isn't even for everybody, so I think it's also great to talk about what relationship styles work for people, if marriage is even right for you. Is an open relationship something you could negotiate if it would work better for your personality type? These are all kinds of things that I want to talk about. But there's several studies that have come out of mostly Britain and the United States, other places too, that show that lesbian relationships have really high breakup rates. I'm going to use the term lesbian relationship for any same-sex relationship between women. I understand that there are bisexual women in same-sex relationships, but saying a bisexual female and a lesbian same-sex relationship is kind of cumbersome and too many syllables. So, not trying to erase bi people, but I'm just going to use same-sex relationship and lesbian relationship synonymously here. So, data coming out of the United States and Europe shows that lesbian relationships have higher breakup rates than, let's say, more formal relationships. Live-ins, domestic partnerships, civil partnerships, and now same-sex marriage have higher breakup rates than heterosexuals have, and including actually gay men. So, which is maybe surprising to some people that it seems like gay men's marriages actually last longer than relationships between women. I think a lot of people would find that really surprising, considering there's a lot of promiscuity in the gay male community and all of that. Why is this? What are the reasons for these statistics? And what can we do about it if we really do want to have perhaps a long-term, lifelong relationship? Or maybe we need to know about this to figure out if marriage is even right for us in the first place, because divorces are messy and they're expensive and they're traumatizing. So I just think this is a good conversation to have. So the number one reason why I think that same-sex relationships between women break up more than any other ones has to do with the fact that it's a relationship between two women. And if you actually look at divorce statistics among heterosexual couples, you find that 2/3 of divorces are requested by the woman in the relationship, not the man, which I find to be pretty fascinating. So heterosexual women are twice as likely to request divorce than a man is. And it's not just because the men are cheating. Women now cheat almost as much as men do in relationships, so I don't think that's the reason. My guess is I think that women perhaps demand a higher relationship quality. They may have higher expectations of their relationships. They may be pickier in some ways about some things. I don't know for sure, but the statistics are what they are. And I think maybe as lesbians or maybe bisexual women in same-sex relationships, it's good for us to be aware of that fact. So I really think that's the number one reason why lesbian divorces and civil partnership dissolutions and things like that are going to be higher. You have two women now, so you've now increased your odds of a breakup by 30%. So there's that. That's really, I think, the number one issue. It's sort of surprising, but that is what it is. I think that there's other issues too that I'll talk about. The lack of societal support, I think, definitely has affected us in the past. Your parents can't really take you aside and explain to you sort of how women relate to each other and how to negotiate issues between women. And, there's not really role modeling. There hasn't been a lot of support. There hasn't been a lot of self-esteem around our relationships. And now we have a lot more rights, and hopefully that will change for the next generation. But I think that that's definitely a contributing factor. So that's the second thing that I would list. And the third thing I think has to do with U-hauling, which is kind of a stereotype, but it's definitely true. I think lesbians or women, bisexual women too, tend to hook up pretty quickly and move in together pretty quickly. This isn't really a recipe for a long-term partnership necessarily. And I think a lot of lesbians talk about the fact how serial monogamy seems to be the norm in our community. And I think the U-hauling is a big reason why that is. So it might not be the best decision to move in with somebody right away if what you're looking for is to build something that's going to perhaps be a lifelong relationship. If you don't care about that, then it's not a problem. But if you do, it's just something to think about. The fourth reason I'd list is I think maybe there are certain sexual issues between women. Female sexuality, male sexuality, I mean, there's definitely overlap, and there's different individuals that behave differently. But overall, men tend to be more assertive and more initiators, and just sort of have more of an automatic drive. And these aren't stereotypes, these are just facts. And so a lot of women have even maybe just a low sex drive. That's an issue. There's also the reality that a lot of women's sexuality is such that they have to sort of get into the mood. It's not something that happens right away. And if you have two women that aren't initiators, I could see that causing maybe some issues with lack of having sex a lot, which leads to boredom in the relationship, which might lead to breakups. I haven't read real specific research on this, and most of the things I say, I try to see if there's any research to back it up. But I think that might be a really contributing factor, because sexual boredom is really a problem for everybody, and I think that happens in lesbian relationships too, and it's just good to be aware of that. In the past, with these stats that show these high sort of relationship dissolution rates, I think that civil unions in the past, which what we've had, or domestic partnerships, are probably not as stable as marriage. So, it's like marriage light. And they found that even heterosexuals, I think I don't know if it was the Netherlands or which Scandinavian country, they found that the heterosexuals that engaged in a domestic partnership, they also had higher divorce rates than heterosexuals that had been married. So I think that now that we have marriage rights in a lot of Western countries, hopefully that will change. And it's good that that's available to us. More of a legal commitment sort of, I think, encourages people to work things out more, maybe. So, which I think is a good thing, in my opinion. Also, I wondered if maybe lack of children was a reason, because lesbians are less likely to have children. But I looked at there's one study that did show that basically even lesbians that had children had higher divorce rates. I mean, luckily the kids were doing okay in those situations, but I think that's a really important issue. I think when you start to embark on family decisions where you bring kids, into the relationship, it's really important to discuss your long-term outlook for your relationship. I guess I'm more conservative in the sense that I think it's great to try to stay together when you have kids, so they have um, a stable relationship. They're not going from one house back and forth on the weekends, that kind of thing. I mean, stuff happens, people break up, and the kids do okay, but I think that's just something good to think about. Lesbians, even with kids, do have higher breakup rates. Um, Maybe, as all of this is more accepted, um, these numbers will stabilize a little bit more with gay marriage, so we'll have to see. Um, I was also wondering, why would gay men have lower breakup rates or seemingly more stable relationships than lesbians? Because the stereotype is they're kind of going around and having a lot of sex and dating a lot, and they're men, so they're not as emotional. We're nesters and all of this. And I think that even though their marriages are more stable, apparently, I don't think their relationships overall are more stable. I think a lot of them are just sort of dating lots of people, and I don't think overall gay men have more stable relationships than lesbians. In fact, it might be the opposite. Lesbians are probably maybe more likely to be in serious relationships. But for the gay men that actually commit to marriage or a domestic partnership, those gay men do have a better record of actually staying together, which I think is interesting. And I actually like the gay male model in their community, where maybe they're running around dating a lot until they really find that one person that they want to be with and then settle down. I like that. I prefer that for myself, I think, rather than serial monogamy. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on gay male relationships. The other thing I wondered is, lesbians have a pretty small dating pool. And one of the things that was interesting when I was reading about marriages and what marriages are more stable than others is that actually a lot of cultural issues affect how stable somebody's relationship is. So, for example, interracial relationships have higher breakup rates. Certain minority communities have higher breakup rates than other people. So when you're talking about issues of poverty or stress or cultural conflicts, or maybe parents that aren't supportive or families that don't have as much in common, all of these issues affect other communities, not just lesbians. And since we are a multicultural community and a small dating pool, maybe some of these issues just kind of have an effect on the stability of our long-term relationships. So that's kind of what I think sums up what's probably going on with same-sex relationships between women and why our breakup rates are higher. There's some good news, like lesbians with children do great in homes with lesbian parents. They do great in homes with gay male parents, and they've studied this really well. So we can have really healthy family situations for kids, and there's a lot to feel really positive about with being able to access marriage if we choose to. And anybody can have a long-term, even lifelong relationship if they want to work for that. I've been with my partner, who I'm madly in love with, for almost 2 decades now. And I couldn't be happier, and we have a group of friends of other same-sex couples, of lesbians and some bisexual women too, that have been in relationships for years. And they're not getting divorced anytime soon. And we're all very happy with our lives. And that's an option for any young lesbians out there, or bisexual women, or whoever is finding themselves in a relationship with another woman. So there's lots of hope. And it's also okay if none of that's right for somebody. Marriage isn't right for everybody. They've been doing some research on polyamorous relationships, and it seems negotiated non-monogamy can definitely work for some people. And and work out and be healthy for the personality types that fits better for them. So I'll also be exploring topics like that. But for the most part, most lesbians want a long-term monogamous relationship if you look at surveys. And I think there's also financial stability and generally mental health benefits in general that they look at with people who are married. And it's also good to know second marriages wind up in divorce more than first marriages. So I just wanted to talk about these topics so there's just some maybe more awareness in our community about them, and I'll be posting more videos on same-sex relationship issues and other LGBT topics. And again, my website is The Homoarchy, and my name's Justine, and thanks for listening.